Welcome to Expressions. I'm your host, Zoe Olivia, guide to the growth minded truth seeker, leader of full life transformations, and a voice for peace, wellness, abundance, and soul based, truth based self love. This show is for out of the box thinkers, and every episode is designed to call you forward into your greatness, your self acceptance, and your higher purpose, as well as supporting you in your awakening journey. May you feel energized, expanded, inspired, safe, and free. Thank you for joining me. Let's go. Hello, Expressions family. This is a very magical day. As you're listening to this, the garden is officially open. We are just absolutely having the best time celebrating Sacred Doe, which is our first animal. We're going in every month for a different animal, embodying femininity, all of the beauty that comes with this process. So get into the garden if you're calling in a community space with so much love, so much play, so much whimsy, so much magic. The entire movement of the garden is bringing you home to remember your inherent magic. That is you. So I'm super excited. I'm going to link it in the show notes. Today, we have a special episode. I am uniting with the beautiful Sarah, who is an empowerment coach. You're going to hear us right now tap into a powerful conversation on everything: mentorship, our stories, femininity, silliness, play, and everything that comes through us. So I intend that you love it. As always, send me your feedback on Instagram at the TheZoeOlivia. I love you. Enjoy.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Sarah. I am so excited for this conversation and wherever we go, wherever we flow, and connecting our worlds.
Me too. I know we just met through our mentorship group that we're in with Sam, and I've talked about it. I've talked about my mentorship group before on my podcast. But I'm excited to just get to know you and your business and what you do. And so can you just tell me more?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started first, a little bit about my story, as I had a very traditional, conventional journey. Like I went into corporate and sales, and that's what I learned or chose to accept would be validating and responsible of me. And as I was doing it, I had all of the things, and I just started this inner feeling, like I was tapped into this inner feeling that was like, I just don't feel good here. I followed all the rules, like what the heck, like I don't feel fulfilled doing this. And I was so terrified to actually listen to whatever that had to bring. That was like the seed over 5 years ago now of how I landed here, moved into personal training. And then it has been this unfolding of me making less and less sense professionally and having that be my brand, right? So it went from personal training into quote unquote life coaching. And I put quotes because me and labels, just you'll hear kind of where it goes from there, into mindset coaching, embodiment work. And then now I'm at a point where literally what I am is a full-fledged magician. Literally, I'm a magician. My life is my art. My practice is my art. My one-on-ones, my private clients, all of that. It is my artistry. It is my magic. And my movement is empowering, activating women to, number one, tap into their femininity and what makes them them. Because a big part of my story was that I was not. And then number two, tapping into the truth that they are magic and not just, oh yeah, that's cute. Yeah, I'm mad or whatever, but actually living in what makes you magic, because you're not here to just have a life that checks the boxes. It's like you're here to have a life that lights you up and inspires you. There's a lot of play, as you could probably tell from my energy. There's a lot of play, there's a lot of whimsy, there's a lot of healing, a lot of growth, all of this within my spaces. And that's the company that I have now, where I do one-on-ones and I do group work as well in a little space that I created called The Garden. And I would love to hear about you too and what you're creating and who you are.
I so resonate with everything that you just said. Oh my gosh, because I still work in corporate actually, full time. I've been in my job now for 25 years. And yeah, same, checking all the boxes, doing all the things, but it's just, and specifically these past, I would say probably 4 years, really this is not aligned for me. I know I'm meant for more. And I talk about it a lot, but I feel like I guess I thought everyone felt this way. So I was just like, okay, like everyone feels like that. And but now I'm realizing they don't all feel that way. So if you feel that way, like you should do something about it. So I started my podcast in December, and now I'm stepping into my coaching and doing, like what you talked about, mindset, empowerment. I work a lot with moms. Even, I'm a single mom, so I love to work with single moms, moms that have been divorced, maybe people that are kind of like lost in the day to day of the motherhood, and they want to step back into their power and they want to have the goals and the dreams and go after things. And maybe they've been too scared to do so, or they feel like it's too late, or it's not meant for them. It's good for, like you said, oh, that's cute for somebody else, but like maybe not for me. So I'm here, to show them like you can do it and you can believe in yourself and you can change your life and have big goals and big dreams. And, you don't necessarily, you don't need that person on the side of you because you can do it all by yourself.
Mm.
So that's kind of where I'm going with it.
I love that. I love that concept of empowerment and having us understand it's like in my past, I was very dependent. Like that's kind of how I showed up to things. And a huge part of my journey has been that, like has been learning, oh, I got my own back and literally
Mhm.
living that. And then having this healthier concept of like interdependency because now we can show up to relationships. Now we can be there for each other once we know that we can hold ourselves. Right? It's
Yeah.
like once I know, oh, okay, I got this. Now I can show up in like wholeness, in a fullness to other dynamics. So I love that. I love
I agree with that too, because I felt like for so many years, I felt like I couldn't count on anybody. I was constantly let down by people in my life, people in my family. And so I had to rely on myself because I was the only one I knew that was always going to be there and always going to show up. So now, like finding these communities and, finding women like you and other people that you're like, oh, I actually can count on people. I just have to find the right people to count on. I don't have to do it all by myself. There is people that will support you, that will be there for you. But I think it was a hard pattern to break because I had a lot of disappointment. I had a lot of people let me down, a lot of people that didn't show up for me, or people that should have been there. And this is like from childhood, like so in order to now like be strong on my own, but now realize, like you said, now I can open up and I can have those friendships and those relationships. I don't have to be so guarded all the time because like there are those people that will be there for you. So I'm for sure learning that too.
Yeah. And doesn't it feel like absolutely delicious to be like, it feels to me like an exhale. Like it really
Yes.
feels it's like it's this we hear it and we hear about it as like a theory of like, yeah, everything's fine. It's like it sounds like a fortune cookie of like, yeah, just have faith, it's all gonna work out.
Yeah.
When you really live it and and I love that you said the word community. It's like when you have a group of mirrors and
Hmm.
mirrors of people who are reflecting back your own like magic, your own like the highest versions of you, then you could just be like, I knew it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the
Like
evidence
I
of
knew I couldn't be the only one that was like this. I know I'm weird and I'm unique, but like I know there's got to be more people that are like me.
and it's like the weird is our magic. Like
Yeah.
I spoke about this, I think it was yesterday that and I think we were like social media friends and you'll see like on my social media that like I have like these artistic graphics of things and my offerings and then you'll also see me like dressed up as a grandma like at brunch on a Sunday.
I saw
Yeah.
that.
And it's fascinating because that for me, I call it like my silly threshold because if you know me personally, like, well, I'm very silly, I'm funny, I'm witty and all that. And I didn't understand that actually, like, I was very quiet about that. Like, there were some
Yeah.
rooms that I really just hid that. And so the granny, like Zoe, is the one that's in this liberation, and the spaces I'm creating are for people to have this like play and silly liberation. And I was terrified. And this was recently, like this was in the past 6 months. I was terrified of that.
Yeah.
Terrified of like, oh my, what are, the stories that we tell ourselves. And then after you do it, now seeing that that's actually my magnetism, like the things that we're like, I don't know if I could be a
Yeah.
grandma right now. The people are like, oh, like that's, and I would think before that like what magnetized people about me was like, oh, like a smile or, because I hold space, but they're like, it was the grandma
Right.
that
Right.
got
It's
me.
the things that you're so like not expecting. They're like, no, I love that about you. And you're like, wait, what? Like I was kind of hiding that all this time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that.
Oh, that's so funny. I saw you do that. And then you did another one too. Like, didn't you guys dress up like something like characters or something like that?
Yeah, so it actually evolved. I love that we're talking about this and I love that it went there because it's like it actually evolved. It started as the grandma thing and it started in a large part, if I'm being completely transparent with it, of my friends really supporting me because they're like, Zoe, you're so funny. Like it's time that you just get over it and like show people. So a lot of it
Yeah.
was like a space for me and then it exploded from the granny into me being like calling in people. So I was like, I need like because my brain gets very silly. I was like, I need a place to go with this energy. I'm gonna make a group chat. I'm gonna call it the Silly Crew where I can go and just text you guys that like it's a Friday morning and I want to go to the grocery store dressed as SpongeBob. Who's around? Like I wanted to, I swear. And if you're interested, I will put you. It's like it's a group chat called the Silly Crew, and so it started as that, and then we all just go in there and we brain dump like things that are like funny, like what if we did this? And so it graduated into cartoon brunch, and we have another one coming up this month that we're gonna do like a whole other theme. And it's fascinating to watch like people are like they either dive headfirst into it or they'll
Yeah.
dive first and then they'll just like be really scared.
Yeah.
We find that every time that we go into outings, even if we're like, ah, because we'll be like in broad daylight, like in costumes and like a
Well,
regular
and I'm sure everyone is staring at you like,
everyone.
what the hell?
And exactly. Well, that's the story. That's actually fascinating because that's the story and why we get so scared because we
Right.
think that people are going to say, what the hell? But in reality, what actually happened was people were coming over and being like, thank you so much for
Yeah,
this.
they love it, right? Because you had the courage to do it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that for me, like the play, because I have two daughters, they're 10 and 6. And I think before I had them, like I probably was taking life a little too seriously. You know, like I like to go out with my friends and like to drink and party and dance or whatever. But if I could be honest, a lot of those times, like it was around alcohol, and that's what I was doing. And that was when I would like let my shield down and be my silly self or whatever. So then and other times, like I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to be. And because it was like party, work, party, and then I had my daughters, and now it's like, oh, you can play and you can have fun, and like you don't have to drink all the time. Like that's a whole nother conversation. But I mean, really, like that's what my younger years were. And I think it was like me trying to come out and me trying to be myself, but like not feeling confident enough to do it. So it was like, oh, I need this to help me in a way. And now it's like with them, we play and we go all these places and do all these things. And they're like, want to do this? And I'm like, sure. Like, they're like, Mom, let's go to the beach and watch a sunset. I'm like, okay, hurry up. I was like, we got to race the sun. And like, we'll just do like random spontaneous things. But they have helped me so much, like owning that and becoming that because I was not that before them.
I love that. That's such a gift, like the sacred mirror of children. And like, I love that you brought alcohol into the conversation. It was definitely my past. I share about this a lot. Like, or maybe I talked to you about this. I was on everything. Like, I would drink, I did drugs. I was on, because therapy is a big part of my story. I was on antipsychotics, all of them, everything that you could like consume in your body to like
Mm-hmm.
let yourself out or not be in the present moment. I was like, that sounds like what I'm gonna do. So I went
Yeah.
from that into 3 years ago getting completely sober, like off everything and just being raw in life and allowing myself to feel the moment and dissociation and really feeling the fear, kind of like how you were just saying of like, I'm gonna show up as me in this room, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
there's
Right.
nothing to like be my crutch. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like when we can
Nothing
all
to like loosen me up.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
then we show our system like actually like it is safe to be the whole fullness of you, even though in the beginning it can feel like Zoe as a grandma, it can feel like very terrifying. By
Mm-hmm.
the end, it's like, whoa, it's actually so liberating to be me.
Well,
What?
and I feel like the fear, like of the things that you're doing, and I think I talked about this a couple of weeks ago on my podcast too. It's like it really doesn't last that long. Like you said, like you guys probably walked into the restaurant and everybody's kind of like, oh my gosh, in the very beginning. But then probably after like 5 minutes, you're like, okay, like this is great. Like I'm getting these reactions and I'm having so much fun. So it's like we build it up and build it up and build it up. And then like it passes like quickly, but we let it just take over us. That way we don't want to and we don't want to do things because of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it sounds like I mean not it sounds like we definitely are, you and I and everybody who's like listening to this podcast is like really standing for the same movement of allowing your number one, obviously always your true authentic self to come out. And then how about
Mhm.
your true authentic silly self? independent of like your age, because we know time is not real and all that like meta stuff, but it's like independent of your age, how like what's your threshold for being silly? Like and
Yeah,
just being like off the walls and like doing things like granny brunch or whatever your beautiful kids come up with today. Like maybe we're gonna throw
right.
spaghetti at the ceiling today. Okay. It's
Well,
like
and it's funny because I was just telling a friend the other day, I was like, I feel like once I turned 40, which was a couple years ago, like I really just, it kind of like every year is like less and less I care what people think, honestly, because it's just time is too short, and life is too short. And if they're really that worried about what I'm doing, like they're not my people. And I'm
yeah.
really not there for them. And if there's gonna be, like you said, there's gonna be people that are gonna be like, oh my God, thank you. Like, thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing this. Like you've inspired me. You've given me the courage to go do something too. I mean, maybe they don't want to dress like grandmas at brunch. I don't know, but maybe they want to do something else. And it's kind of given them like, that confidence to be like, oh, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And like, that's what I love about it.
I love that you said that. That was exactly what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, like, do you find that living into this, you are received with more, like, you're more magnetic and that people are
Oh,
more like,
100%. Oh my God. And it's so funny that you say that because even at my job, I've just switched locations. So I have worked for the same company for 25 years, but I just switched locations in November. And it was literally like 2 weeks before my podcast was going to come out. And I did know some people that were already there, but the reaction, I guess, of the people, because I'm in management, has been like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, they're like, you're like a ray of sunshine. You're like a breath of fresh air being here. And I know it's the work that I'm doing outside that's making me better there. And even though that's not like, it's not my long term, it's not where I see myself anymore, I have been able to make it so much more enjoyable for the time being that I have to be there instead of just like dreading it every single day, because that's what I was doing before. And it wasn't allowing me to do these creative things on the outside because it was draining me, like, because they're spending 45 hours a week there. So I don't know. I found this like sweet spot now that like I am enjoying that, even though I know I don't want to do it forever, but I'm making the best of the situation, like while I still have to be in it.
absolutely. And it's like, I love hearing that the word, and I hear and see words as part of my like superpower. And like the word that kept coming through as I was listening to was permission slip. And it's something I've been talking about a lot. So it's like perfect. It's like this permission slip, especially in those corporate settings. And I do this when I have private clients and I have clients in different industry. Like I have
Mhm.
clients in tech or Hollywood and these industries that you think, or even you being in the corporate space, that they have this collective resonance of whatever it is, of settling, of shrinking, of just being like
Mhm.
in the rat race or a cog in the wheel. And so those kind of clients will want to be like, listen, I just want to get out of this space. But it's like, I'm so happy you're actually in this space being like the light, you know,
Yes.
and like people can feel you. And like, it's probably not even probably, it's literally like they're just picking up on your truth and your
Mhm.
authenticity. And they're just like this thank you energy, like and we're
Well,
saying,
whatever. And I
like,
think that
yeah.
for what we do, like it's contagious, like positive and negative energy is contagious. So if you choose to show up negatively, like it's contagious. I choose to show up positively, it is contagious. Like I'm gonna receive what I give. I have learned, and I choose to show up that way and I choose to walk in and I choose to have a smile on my face. And it just makes my life so much easier. I'm being honest because being negative and pissed off all the time is exhausting. Like I cannot be that person. It doesn't work for me.
I like how you also talked about choice because it's like, and there's so many, like, yes, we're having this like lighthearted, fun conversation. There's so much like wisdom that's coming through, and it's like we get to whoever you are, if you're listening to this, it's like we get to choose every moment of like, who am
Mm-hmm.
I going to be right now? Who am I going to be right now? Oh, if I catch myself going down a thought spiral where, I'm not, as a result of those thoughts, I'm not feeling like the way that I want to feel
Mm-hmm.
can choose right now to make a difference in that. I can choose, and you take these baby steps
Yeah.
to take this. I see it as like a tightness around like, oh, I just have to be the version of me that I used to be. And you can just loosen up and be like, what if I was like 1% more magical today? What if
Yeah.
I was like 1% more silly or 1% like Sarah, like, which I'm sure you influence people just even by being in the room, and they're just like, what is that? Is that like a new shirt? Like what are you
I don't
doing?
know. A lot of people think that I take a lot of things. They're like, because I was talking the other day and I'm like, oh, do you drink coffee? And I'm like, I actually don't. They're like, of course you don't. Like, why, why would you? And I was like, well, I drink like mushroom matcha. They're like mushrooms. That's what it is. And I was like, not those kind of mushrooms. They're like, there's something. I don't know what it is, but we knew there had to be something.
I love that. And I love how we brought that up with alcohol too. And I think of my life like I used to when I was in my drinking, partying phase, like heavy. And I'm also a dancer. I would be always the one like dancing on tables. And so I thought when I stopped drinking that would stop. And it's actually amplified. And so people
Yeah.
will be like, oh, like exactly I said, like, what's she on? Like, what is that? And I'm like, it's life,
Right.
And they're like, but where? And it's like, exactly. Just keep doing the work. Just keep showing
Right.
up. It'll make sense.
They're like, okay. Yeah, I saw that because you do salsa dancing, right?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
seems so fun.
Oh, and I could talk about it all day. Dancing in general, I think that I believe that we're all here for certain callings and we have unique callings, and I refer to them as gifts. And like your gifts are unique to you, my gifts are unique to me, even though we could tell that we have some in common, right? And we overlap in our gifts. And dancing has always been one of the modalities that I've been called to explore in this life. And I did it growing up, and then I stopped because it brought up so much inadequacy and these like limiting stories that I didn't know how to process at the time. So then now after doing the work that I've done and applied myself, I started hearing this calling, yes, for dance and very specifically for salsa dance, which was fascinating given my embodiment. When I was hearing that call, I was very in my masculine, very in my head, very intellectual. And what salsa calls for, if anybody's familiar, is like you're dancing with a partner, a majority of the time of the opposite gender. And if you're a woman, there's a lead and a follow in a partner dance. And so I had no skills of this. And I'm like, you're asking me that I have to fucking surrender control?
Right?
I
Not
don't
gonna
even know
happen.
you. Yeah. And it's been so liberating. It has been so liberating because I fought it in the beginning, and there's still spaces that I'm still catching myself fighting certain things. But it's like, it is like I said before, it's like this exhale feeling of like coming home into my feminine and softening, and there's so much play in that space. So it's like one of the invitations I have for anybody listening, it's like, where are your callings? Where are your gifts? Even if they feel scary, because to be honest, as much as I talk about magic and play and whimsy, a lot of that stuff can be really scary at first. Like
Yeah.
salsa, going into a salsa room where everybody's like, do, 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 do. If you're like watching the visual, I'm like doing a lot with my hands.
Right.
And you're like, and then it's just like, what's going to happen? I'm going to trip over myself. Yes, absolutely. I did that nonstop. And then you get over it, and then you keep showing up, and it's fun, you know?
Well, and I think that's the thing too, that people like, I always tell them, like, everybody starts as a beginner. Like, no one started being a salsa professional, like, and I think that we get so in our heads, and people get in their heads like, oh, but I'm not going to be good at that yet. It's like, yeah, yet. Like, just do it, just try, like, just practice, and you're going to get better, and then like you can do whatever you want to do. You can learn anything you want to learn, and I think that people just, they get so, I don't know, they just get so in their head and so scared, and like you said, you just have to try. You have to take the steps.
Yeah, it speaks a lot to us, and it, to bring us into this like completion, because I know we're also coming up on time, and I'll share how much gratitude I have for you in this conversation. But it's cool because if you think about what we did, right, stepping into a space like Sam and then agreeing to having this beautiful conversation and connection with each other, it's like, how can you make the commitment to do the scary, liberating, empowering thing? And then this word comes through me that's the word of resilience, which is like, when it starts to feel bumpy or scary, or you're tripping all over your partner in salsa, like, can you still show up to class the next day? Can you still be there? Like, I see this metaphor of like karate. It's like, you're the purple belt right now. Like, just keep going to the class. Keep
Yes.
whatever this, like, however this applies to people and wherever they're exploring in their life. And they're just like, I have to dip. I have to get out of here. It's like, just stay and see what's going to come through, you know?
Yeah. I'm kind of always like, what's the worst that can happen? Really? Like, but then again, what's the best that can happen?
I was
Like, you have
about
to think of that. Like, what can really come out of this?
yeah, we talked in because I was going there. I was going there. I was gonna say, what's the best? If we get to choose and create our world based on the questions that we ask, I love that you're like, what's the best? Like, surprise me. What's the best that can
Right.
happen?
I
What's the
don't think that people give themselves enough credit for having the power of choice.
Hmm.
Like, they're feeling like life is what's happening to them. Like, I don't think they realize how much control they have over controlling their life, and I know I've learned that because things happen that I can't control, but I can control myself and I can control my reactions and the way that I show up and the things that I do. And since I have found that, like you said, it's like it's like, gosh, like, oh, I can't control what happened the other day, but you know what? I can control the way that I showed up and the way that I come out of the situation or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I love that you said that. You definitely like nailed a huge thing that my clients are in a very unique part of their journey with that. They're realizing and they're practicing remembering that they're in the driver's seat because,
Mhm.
for example, I didn't always know that. I was a passenger seat princess. I was like, everything happens to me.
Same.
It's everybody's fault.
Yep.
You. That's how I showed up to every relational dynamic, right? I was just like, because it was so scary for me to be in the driver's seat. I'm like, I'm just a
Hmm.
kid, even though I'm like 30, I'm like, I'm just a kid. How am I going to make the decisions and hold the
Right.
responsibility? It's like, when we learn that that's actually you holding your magic wand, that's you wielding the things that you want to make in your life, it gets to be not only liberating, but you get to have this like, wow, I can do scary things. I can keep showing up, and it gets to be beautiful. And
Hmm.
I want to hear also, I want to hear as we mutually complete, and I just have absolutely loved this conversation. I want to give you so much gratitude for agreeing to be on here to connect with me. I have a feeling our audiences just come from the like resonance that we're creating. I have a feeling that we're gonna have several conversations and we're
I
gonna
know,
do
me
this
too, me
again.
too.
I
I
feel
know.
it. I know it. I know it. I want to know like where can people find you in for my episode. I know we're gonna co-share this. I'm definitely gonna link all your stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
so people can find you. Is there any like projects or ways that people can tap in with you?
Actually, I had a new idea just this morning, which I
Oh.
only my daughters know because it happened on the way to school. So you can find me. My podcast is Creating Sunshine Podcast. I am on Instagram, so I spend most of my time on my personal, well, now personal business page, and it's at SARAH_ARVIZU. And I also have a business that I started in 2020, and it's at Create Sunshine Shop. And this one, I started making like custom cups and glitter tumblers, and then kind of went into resin art and dominoes and coasters and t-shirts and sweaters and doing the whole thing. And I guess I was like a COVID crafter, because just trying to like maintain my sanity, like while all of the craziness was happening. And it kind of just stemmed into something amazing that I didn't even realize that that's what could have happened. But with doing all of this new stuff, I feel like I had kind of put that on the back burner, and I wanted to kind of like merge the two together. And even just this morning, so my youngest is 6, and she was like, "Hey, mom, can we do like where we draw the paper out of a hat again?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "Oh, the giveaways," because randomly I would do giveaways for cups or whatever it was. And I go, "Yeah, but let me think, like, how can I do that? How can I incorporate that?" And all of a sudden I went, "Oh my God, creating sunshine merchandise. Like, why would I not when I already know how to do all the things?" And my oldest is in the back, like, "Yes, go." And I'm like, okay, so I'm working on the design to start making t-shirts, sweatshirts, and it's for now just going to have like my little podcast art logo, which is a big bright yellow sun, and it says Creating Sunshine on the bottom. And I want my cups to kind of take a different turn as well, because for anybody that goes on there, I love a style, and it's called like a hydro dip, and they like dip them in this spray paint, and they come out swirly and beautiful, and there's glitter involved, and there's so unique. Like, even if I tried, I could never make another one the same again. Like, it's the way that it happens, right? And those were my most popular and my favorite to do. So I was like, oh, but what if I took those cups and then I add like the motivational, inspirational quote on them? And so that's kind of like, I was like, oh my gosh, I can actually merge my two worlds together and still craft and do the podcast and do all the things. So that literally just came to me this morning. So I'm so excited to share it with you.
Celebrating you. I love it. I'm like, I want one. That sounds amazing.
I'll send you my Instagram when we're done. You can check it out.
Yes, I absolutely will. I'm happy to support you. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
And what about you? Because I know you have a new program starting soon.
Yes, so I've done group containers before. Like I said, I do one-on-one and I do group, and I've done group and I've done like group for several weeks. And this is my first one that's a whole year. So this is a
Oh wow.
completely different format for me, and I'm so fascinated by it and just the psychology of what it even means, because it's this space. I was like, I want to do a movement, but it's this space. So it's a virtual space, and I called it the garden. And that to me, it's been, and I'm very artistic in like the like coaching offerings that I offer. And so this came to me, they always come to me as words, and it came to me as the garden. And I've learned to just not ask questions about it and just to continue to receive the insight of what the word is going to mean in concept to the space. And it's like, this is literally what we're doing. It started as a seed. And so we're launching on Wednesday, and that's the seed, the founders call, where we're all getting together every single month to tap into what it feels like to live everything that we talked about in this conversation, right? Play, inspiration, like freedom, femininity, sensuality, like life as an exhale, just like feeling this energy all in this container together. And so we're going to do live calls. I have a challenge that I'm going to do within that so that we're actually holding each other to that, you know? And everything, there's a lot of whimsy. And if you see me, and you're gonna see, I'll give you my socials also, you'll see the aesthetic for it, because I'm a huge aesthetic person. I want people to feel the space. It's like this mystery, like whimsical, like almost like Alice in Wonderland, but like way sillier space for us to explore like the magic that is us in a loving container together. So that's what I have launching next week. I am so excited. And then I'm also giving all sorts of frills to my new level of one-on-one private clients who want a little extra touch, a little extra support, as they're like, I'm magic, but I don't know about all the time. Yeah. So for my lovely people who are also interested in one-on-ones, I have that going on as well.
I love that. That sounds so amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I am celebrating us. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I know that if you guys are listening, that Sarah and I will link each other's stuff. From anybody who's coming in from my audience, I very highly believe in collaboration. And if you are called to Sarah's resonance, absolutely go. I'm like speaking on behalf of Sarah. I'm like, message her, like get in her space, like talk to her, message her. Like, she's so lovely, she's so friendly, and she has this sunshine energy, which is her exact brand. So I highly vouch for her, and I'm so excited
Thank you.
for all that
I
we're
know.
gonna
I'm so glad that we connected through this group. And I think it was so funny because when we were first talking about collaborating, I think you and I were the first ones that were like, yes, yes, yes.
We're like, tomorrow? Perfect. I'll make
right. What works for you? Because like I'm free right now. So I feel like I was drawn to you too. So if you guys are loving Zoe's vibe and everything else, like I'm gonna share it in my show notes as well. So you guys can connect with her if you're interested in becoming part of the garden, which sounds amazing. Just like a blossoming and transformation. Like I love the name of it.
Thank
And
you.
I think a year is great because it's so hard to get a transfer. Like some people do 4 weeks. I'm like, 4 weeks, ain't shit happening in 4 weeks if you really need it. Like you need that longer like time to really see a transformation and to do that. So I think that's amazing that you are committing to that for people for a year.
Thank you so much. And part of it is also because I'm so committed to grow, as I'm sure you are as well. And it's like, I want to take people with me in my growth and to feel how like month 1 and month 12 of the garden are going to be so drastically like unique and independent. And I want to share and impart all the things I'm learning with the people who are like, okay, I'm in it. Let's keep growing. Let's keep learning together.
Yeah,
So
I love it.
I'm here for it. And
I love
cheers
it.
to us for this amazing conversation. If you're tapping in from my audience, Sarah's audience, let us know what you think of this combo. Like, what else do you want us to talk about? Because we're here for you. And yeah, cheers to the future.
Right? Thank you.
Woo!